Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another Reddit story for you. This one's not an AITA story. This one is actually from the Entitled People subreddit. We're branching out. Entitled sister-in-law stole our baby name. Now she regrets it. Hey y'all, longtime lurker and all that. This is a throwaway account. To cut to the chase, my wife and I spent 4 years trying to get pregnant before the wrong side of 35. We are currently 33 respectively now and are blessed with a wonderful infant son. My wife has a younger half-sister that she has been LC with for some time. The woman is entitled and toxic, and also her mother's golden child. We've refused to let her or my mother-in-law in the house since they both blatantly tried to make off with my wife's jewelry box a couple of years ago. All right, we'll just go ahead and get some of these going here. That kind of context is always a bonus. The box contained a lot of valuable jewelry inherited from my wife's grandmother. Said jewelry is now in a safety deposit box as per my suggestion. My wife and I had nearly given up on trying to conceive when it suddenly happened, and we were ecstatic. After we found out that we were having a boy, we started looking into names. I ended up suggesting the name of my Scottish grandfather, and my wife loved it. So that's the name we settled on. But we made the mistake of posting about it on social media. Well, no surprise to the stereotype in this mess, my sister-in-law was pregnant too, and was months further along than my wife and also having a boy. She decided to claim my grandfather's name for her own son, and not just the first name, but the middle name too. We called her pissed over what she was doing, and she smugly told us there's nothing we can do about it, which she was sort of right. There was nothing we could do about it legally, as it's still not a crime to steal planned baby names. But it should be, right? We realized the drama was exactly what my sister-in-law wanted, and she thought that by taking the name for herself, we wouldn't be able to use it. I laughed and told her that while what she did was dirty and underhanded, we would keep our chosen name, and she could just deal with it whether she decides to go through with copying us or not. Well, my sister-in-law's baby daddy called me and said I was an unreasonable dick for still wanting to use the name after sister-in-law claimed it. I said she claimed nothing. And since we couldn't own the name, that neither could they. Before he ended the call, he threatened me by saying I'd be sorry if we didn't change the name. Then he hung up before I could respond. Months later, sister-in-law has a healthy baby boy and names him my grandfather's name. We did not show up for the birth, both because of the pandemic and because we simply didn't care to be there. Sister-in-law called us wanting congratulations, but we told her we simply didn't care, and that if she was still insisting we change our baby's name, then she'd be in for some big disappointment because we were not. Sister-in-law demanded I put my wife on the phone, but it was already on speaker and my wife spoke up and said she agrees with me entirely. We weren't changing the name. Sister-in-law hung up on us, but soon started sending emails with text walls of names, even suggesting similar ones. I responded back that the name was from my grandfather, and that's why we were not changing it. She shut up, and we didn't hear from her again until after our own son was born. 2 months later, we were blessed with our son. He came out perfect, and we named him just as we'd intended. Well, no surprise, my sister-in-law called us a few days after the birth to scream in our ears that we copied her son's name. I pointed out that she was the real copycat since she had no familial ties to the name, and we did. And anyone who looks at our family tree could say that. Then my wife spoke and said after the attempted theft of her grandmother's jewelry, she no longer considered sister-in-law her sister and would have nothing to do with her nephew either. For months, we were bombarded with messages and emails from my wife's side of the family. Half were on our side finding out the whole story, and the other half were not. And sister-in-law's baby daddy, true to his word, showed up at my door to make me sorry. I'm not sure what his plan was, but I pretty much towered over him. I'm 6'1" and well-built from regular exercise and 3 trips to the gym a week. He, on the other hand, was very skinny and about 5'6" with a baby face that was badly hidden by a slim beard. I told him my house has cameras and to get off my property and never come back. He just yelled a few obscenities at me and drove off in his beat-up old car. Sister-in-law and mother-in-law called us from a different number to yell at me for making sister-in-law's baby daddy feel emasculated. Yeah, how dare you answer your door and be taller than this guy? I didn't even threaten the man, just told him to leave and not come back, and if he didn't want to feel emasculated, then he shouldn't have come knocking. Then they tried to bring up the issue of the baby name again and demanded we change our son's name as he's so young, so there's still plenty of time to do it. We held our ground and told them that they were bonkers to still think that they were in the right after they copied our choice of name just to try and get one over on us. I said sister-in-law didn't even name her son out of love, but out of spite, just to try and stick it to my wife for no good reason. Then my wife called them both out on the way that she was treated growing up, up how entitled sister-in-law and mother-in-law have always been and how she was glad to leave them far behind. And she wants nothing from them. They won't have anything from us. That left sister-in-law sobbing, and mother-in-law called me a royal bastard before hanging up the phone. NC again for a little while, till sister-in-law called us again sometime later to bitterly tell us that we'd won. She and her baby daddy got in a huge fight and he left. He was apparently very sore that sister-in-law didn't let him even give their son a middle name from his family. And he said he was sick of the bullshit and wanted his son named after him and not some guy he wasn't even related to. Sister-in-law finally caved and they got the boy's birth certificate reissued with a completely new name, which cost sister-in-law around $500 or so she claims. Sister-in-law then demanded we at least compensate her for the name change, plus another $100 for the emotional damage, as now she's going to have to get used to calling her son by a different name. We laughed and said this would have never happened if she hadn't stolen our baby name to begin with and we didn't owe her anything. Since then, we've been no contact with sister-in-law and mother-in-law, but my father-in-law, who is a very nice man and divorced from mother-in-law for obvious reasons, would come by often and loves his grandson. From what he and other relatives told us about the situation between sister-in-law and her baby daddy, it was pretty tumultuous, but we don't care. Not our monkeys, not our circus. Woo! Okay. There were so many twists and facets of this story that just had me scratching my head. I'm like, what's going on? What? Why? Why would you want the name, which I'm guessing was a clearly Scottish name? Why would you be like, you know what? That sounds exotic. Let's take it from them. Which, by the way, yes, if you settle on a name, don't post it. Don't tell anybody. You keep that shit close, because there are people out there who are incapable of having good ideas of their own and just take from other people. I mean, they'll find inspiration from you. It just happens to be the exact same goddamn thing that you were doing. It's a whole lot of inspiration. Pure inspiration, in fact. So don't do that. Hot tip, don't do it. But also, why the F would you want it? The only thing that makes sense is the assumption that OP took here, and that's she just did it to try to stick it to her sister. That's it. It's the only explanation he could find, and I'm kind of right there with him, unless they were both just like, you know what, that's an awesome name. But we know now that's not the case, because her husband, crazy sister-in-law, was like, I don't want that. I want him named after someone in my family, not some family that I don't even know. She wanted to keep it. This is like the sister who had to buy everything that the other sister bought, and the OP in that story tricked her by buying a really ugly purse or saying that she was going to buy this ugly purse and then letting her sister actually buy it. This is like the advanced form of that, where it's like, I'm going to name my baby the exact same name that you were going to choose because I can. What are you going to do now? OP and his wife are like, nothing. We're going to keep using the name we said we were going to use. Oh, I didn't count on that. The best part of this entire effing story, though, is at the very end where she's like, y'all owe me $500 for me stealing your baby's name and $100 extra for emotional damage. Try to take that to a PI attorney and see what happens. This would be a hilarious court case. If I'm ever going to get called for jury duty, this is the case I want to sit on. I want to sit on this case, and I will drag that shit out for months. OP, not guilty. I know it's not an AITA story, we're doing it anyway. Not an asshole at all. Not an asshole at all. The boundaries that were set here and the fact that OP and his wife were just from the get-go consistent. 100% across the board. Never wavered. Never. With family, sibling, and mother is impressive. And it's something that I wish more people would do. Nicely done.